Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Conroy-Roth, and you're watching the latest episode of Lightning Leadership. With me today is Dennis Trinkle. I've known Dennis now for 5 or 6 years, and he's really inspiring, truly a thought leader. He is an educator. He's a technical czar. He's got the educational components with Harrison College and being a leader at Ball State. He's currently leading technology projects at the United Way. He spent some time in a leadership role at TechPoint, and now he is the president of TechIndiana. Dennis Trinkle, welcome.
Oh, thanks so much, Teresa. Really excited to be with you today. Been a fan of your podcast and of you for a long, long time. So, it's great to be with you today.
Thank you so much. I think we talked a little bit right before we kicked off about, to me, how inspiring you are, not only being a change agent, but being a good human. And I think it comes out just out of your pores naturally. And I'm super proud to know you. So there you go.
Thanks for that.
And I think people should also get to know you. So one of the things you're really passionate about, and one of the things that you're doing with TechIndiana, right, has to do with hiring, the job market, AI. What's going on nationally and in the state of Indiana?
Oh boy. Yeah, perfectly timed question. We are working on the 2026 AI and workforce report for Indiana. We'll release it in about 3 weeks. Just did the first readout of the results this morning. And I think the short answer, there's a lot going on, right? And company AI, most transformative technology any of us have ever seen.
It's true.
Moving faster than any of us have ever seen, but also not uniformly, right? AI adoption, spiky, uneven. I remember the cell phone rolling out, right? And if you lived in Indianapolis and if you worked at, say, Eli Lilly, you had this perception, wow, cell phones are amazing and they got here really fast. If you lived an hour outside of the city in, say, Greencastle, a decade later, your world hadn't changed. You're like, what's a cell phone? So AI is moving faster than that, but same kind of spikiness in terms of AI adoption. So it is hard to say when you're talking at the level of an individual business exactly what's happening. But if you look at national trends and if you burrow into what's happening in Indiana, the picture's starting to become really clear. And I'll give you one of the headline numbers that I'm still getting my head around because I was truthfully surprised by it, which is in the last 12 months, companies report that they reduced entry-level hiring by 32.5%. Right.
That's huge.
Huge. The first two rungs of the career ladder are disappearing. And our end was 255. So 255 companies, really robust participation all over the state, every sector, small, medium, large size company, nonprofits, educational institutions as well. And consistently across them all, that first two rungs of your career ladder is disappearing and entry-level roles are disappearing. That's the headline story. It is also true that we're moving up the ladder, up the skill ladder. So more jobs are being created than eliminated in tech fields, even though the headlines may not always make it seem like that. But they're going from jobs that are here that require these skills to jobs that are here that require these skills. So the agile professionals out there who are always continuously learning or who are really adaptable, they're going to be tremendous opportunities for them, well-paid opportunities, great chance to steer their future. For folks who don't like change, this is a bad time.
I can completely and totally understand that. And so as we talk about just AI and what can employers be doing, what can recent grads be doing? And, I ask that question, but then I think of anybody really should be doing, right, to prepare themselves for that job of the future, what might be coming and what might be coming short-term versus long-term.
Yeah, great question. I'm going to start with two mindsets because the first answer to that is we have to all learn how to think in ways that are different. We are very used to, as human beings, and we have taught each other and taught ourselves how to think in terms of linear change and incremental progress. And we're really good at anticipating something that rolls out now is going to be around for a while. It's got this adoption curve and I can learn it in this kind of a way, et cetera. Sure. We no longer live in a linear world. AI makes change exponential. And right now, the average pace of change, factorial change in the frontier models is a factor of 10 every 3.8 months.
Oh
which
my
means,
goodness.
yeah, so stop and think. I'm used to linear progress,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm working with the technology. Then a little over 2 years from now will be a million times better, right? So that old Wayne Gretzky cliche about skate to where the puck is going to be was
Yeah.
easy when it was linear and you could project where it's going to be. We can't do that anymore. We've got to learn to think really disruptively, really exponentially, and focus on like the high level things that it likely means, because the specifics aren't coming into focus. It also means like enterprises adopting AI and employing talent and career seekers seeking talent. You can't wait this out,
You
right?
can't.
Another thing you're used to is eventually we get a maturity point in the cycle and
Yes.
everything stabilizes. And a company can say, I'll wait till it hits the maturity cycle, or somebody can say, I'm
Yes.
going to wait.
So
And then
many
a little,
companies do that.
never going to happen. Million times greater in 2 years. There's no flattening. It's a straight up curve, straight up and to the right. So we've got to learn how to think in that kind of exponential. That's one. Number two, the experts in AI, the heads of the frontier labs. I had this opportunity to attend a great event at MIT a few weeks ago, and the heads of the frontier labs and of AI research at Harvard and Princeton and Yale and
Yeah.
Caltech fully believe that we have already achieved AGI. Not necessarily in the way that we'll all agree, because it's a vocabulary challenge, but they think that for us to all agree, it's just an engineering problem now. It's steady progress with technologies that exist now and increases in scale, compute, and complexity. So they think, within 24 to 36 months, there'll be pretty broad agreement that we're there because, and here's the punchline, anything that you can define is now trainable. The focus is on software, but software becomes the tool for attacking everything else. And if you can define what it looks like, what the
Yeah.
outcome is, you can define excellence, then it can be trained, it can be engineered, and there's no moat there. And I like to, when I'm talking to audiences these days, I like to pick on emotional intelligence, because that's one of the things that we say is distinctively human. Machines aren't able to do that, and yet they are. There are benchmarks for the definitions for what emotional intelligence
Yeah.
looks like. We kind of agree. There are established benchmarks for benchmarking how good the AI models are at artificial intelligence. And a year ago, they were in the 20 percentile in terms of human fidelity. They're now at 53%. And the projection is they'll be at 83 to 86% in 24 months in terms of
Wow.
ability to do human level things. 86%, by the way, is the same level you and I are at, right? There are rare birds who get like into the 90s with emotional intelligence. Most of us misread each other, right? I know my wife says, no, that's not what I mean all the time.
Yeah, I get that too.
All of us. And the same thing with that. So it's benchmarkable, it's trainable, even things like emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, decision making. If you can define it, you can train it. It's an engineering problem. And in 24 to 5 years from now, that falls. There's some things that stay behind, but from a talent standpoint, that means you have to lean in on what's scarce, what's scarce and what is distinctively human. And the great thing about that is there is something that is distinctively human that all of the research suggests isn't going away, and that is connection and emotional intelligence. There's this great Indiana guy, former student of mine, who studied the parts of our brain on fMRIs, the parts of our brain that fire when we're having a conversation in Zoom land versus across from each other at a table. And the same regions of the brain don't fire. We don't activate the parts of the brain in digital space that create belongingness, trust, connectivity, safety, all of these really important human dimensions.
Yeah.
Right. Just did that study again, now with AI, same thing. AI does not activate, even the AI that looks just like you or me, sounds just like you or me, doesn't activate the same regions of the brain, doesn't produce that connection. So what's that mean? That means our moat is our humanity. Our moat is relationship, connection, human trust, all of those things. So leaning in to competitive advantage for businesses isn't going to be about like the next great product or service. That's going to get increasingly sped up and commoditized. But your customer service, your interaction, if you're a doctor, You always said bedside manner is kind of an afterthought. It's my medical expertise that they want. Not anymore. It's your
No,
bedside
it's not.
manager that keeps you in your job.
Yeah, yeah.
So true for all of us. That's what we have to be aware of.
Well, and that's that's the human. That's the human side we call it, right? It's the humanity
Yeah.
side. It's the did you establish trust? How do you make somebody feel? Right? It's not necessarily how matter what you say, it's a matter of how you feel. And to your point, right? The idea of connecting with another human face to face across a table, I can honestly see that versus being part of a meeting on a video conference, right? There's a different vibe, whether it be eye contact, looking down, looking at your phone, looking at them directly, being able to respond immediately, right, to facial expressions, being able to pick up on cues that you may or may not be able to see, right, on the rest of the screen as I look my hands. Oh, you saw my hands, but you don't get the idea, right? You're doing so many other things, right? I'm fidgeting with my pen. Nobody knows it right now, right? But you still are. And so those are the types of things. So from an employer standpoint, and even just someone in their 20s, I've got two daughters in my 20s, yes, they've graduated from college. Yes, they're in jobs. One of them is, embracing AI and is on the innovation committee at her work. The other one, not so much, and kind of refuses to use it even to paraphrase or to theme, if you will, an email. What do you tell those folks? I mean, as far as AI, yep, get on the bus. Here's what's happening, but how do you really get to them with regards to where AI is going?
Yeah, so I'll share a few things, but I'll start with the headline that comes really straight out of this conversation. And I'll start with from a really personal anchor. So my oldest son just graduated from college, was fortunate to get a job, got a job before he got to graduation. My youngest son just finished his freshman year at Purdue. So, I mean, really close to my heart, this particular topic. And, what I see in looking around at his peers, when they reach out and they say, hey, we know you're well connected and you know a lot about the job market. Could you give us suggestions? For the kids who are struggling, it's almost always the same thing that pops out. I ask them, so what kind of internships have you done? What kind of work experience did you get? And the kids that haven't gotten any, they're the ones who are struggling. I mean, almost to a T. If you look out, first two rungs of the job market are disappearing, right? So the kids who haven't gained any experience while they were studying, they're at a real disadvantage. The kids who did internship every summer, worked while they were putting themselves through school, all of those things, they grew up professionally and they got this real world experience. And those kids are just fine. The kids who didn't are struggling. So the first thing I would say is that, I mean, you can't afford to just work at Taco Bell. There's nothing wrong with Taco Bell, but you can't afford to do that anymore. You've got to go out and get real world work experience while you're studying. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get onto the ladder because the first two steps are missing. And then the second thing is these habits of mind matter more than any particular subject area. Get used to having to learn continuously. Just find networks, lean in. You'll know what works best for you, but find ways to stay current, to try new things, to grow, to evolve, and lean in on your humanness. In school, they were modeling for you the wrong things, right? The focus was on the content. It was on sitting and listening and studying and remembering and regurgitating all of those things. And it turns out that the ability to sit across from a table and have a conversation with somebody, to listen carefully, to persuade, that's what you've got to lean in on.
Love it. Dennis, we're going to come back and do a stage 2 here next time, but I'll hear about NCAP. So follow us along for part 2. Dennis, welcome to part 1 of Lightning Leadership with Teresa and Dennis. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks, Teresa.
All right. Bye-bye. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.